Greetings, everyone, and a warm welcome to another edition of Marketing the Invisible. I'm Tom Poland, beaming out to you from the very sunny Sunshine Coast here in Australia, joined today by Liz Wolfe. Liz, warm g'day from down under. Where are you hanging out?
I am in New York City, way far away from that. Although I did grow up on a sheep farm, and I know you have a lot of sheep in Australia.
So yeah, they got more in New Zealand. They're kind of famous for that over there. We got a lot more kangaroos, though. You get not too many kangaroos in where you grew up.
No kangaroos in New York City.
Liz is a business coach who helps entrepreneurs get unstuck so they can create an abundant business. And I think what Liz does really well is she gets to the root cause of the being stuck. And if you're one of these people who are wondering why you haven't made the breakthrough that you feel like you deserve to make, I think what you're going to hear in this little 7-minute interview might shine a spotlight on the biggest bottleneck, which is you. Which is good news and bad news. The bad news is you can't blame anyone else, but the good news is you can do something about it. So the title today is how your CEO leadership style can make or break your business. Liz, our 7 minutes is going to start now. Question number one is, who's your ideal client?
My ideal client is, as you mentioned, anyone who feels stuck in their business. I mostly work with newer entrepreneurs, people who are in their first 0 to 5 years of their business.
Okay, so tell us then, let's drill down a little bit on what's the problem you solve. Question two.
Absolutely. Well, the main problem I help people solve is to launch and grow an abundant business. So now, what does abundance mean? That can mean money, that can mean time freedom, that could mean location freedom. So it is different for everyone, but many people, especially newer entrepreneurs, are struggling in that. How do I make this model work? And how do I break free from some of these restraints that I feel that I have in my full-time job or in my business that's not quite working well enough yet?
Right. And you know, the word abundant implies more than enough, right? So folks, more than enough free time, more than enough lifestyle, more than enough family, more than enough money, more than enough happiness. Pretty good plan. So
yeah,
I guess question three is, what are the typical symptoms that someone who's got this problem might be experiencing? I guess it's the opposite of all those things. Do you want to add that or unpack that? What are some of the symptoms that kind of someone listening to this is going to be able to go, yeah, that sounds like me?
Well, some of the symptoms are this idea of feeling stuck where you're working really hard, or you feel like maybe you don't have enough experience and you feel like you don't have the credibility you want, or you feel like you should have better connections. And the work that I do with people is to help you recognize that your leadership style is actually your own biggest obstacle. It's your biggest tool in your entrepreneurial toolbox, but it's also your greatest obstacle because you don't even realize half the time how you're operating and the context you're operating from.
Right, because we're kind of stuck in our own head, right?
You think it's the right way, and I'm not going to argue.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd be doing something else.
There might be another way, right?
So question four is, we've got these entrepreneurs, and almost by definition, they're growth orientated. They're trying things, and they're going to conferences, they're going to trade shows, they're reading books, they're listening to podcasts like this one. What would you say, though, are some of the big mistakes they make before they find your solution? What are they doing that we could be saving people some heartache and some time and maybe some money even by avoiding these mistakes?
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is struggling against your leadership style. And I'll give you an example. So that would be, if you are what I call a chief enthusiasm officer, you're someone who has a lot of ideas and creativity. And in your mind, you think, if only I were more disciplined, like this guy over here, he seems to be so disciplined. And you think, instead of channeling the energy that you have, you think, I should be different than I am, because this is a little bit, bumping up against those hidden barriers, because you feel like you could be better at this than you are. And so my goal is to have you embrace the strengths of your style while also recognizing the pitfalls, hey, I'm not going to stop you from striving, let's say, to be more focused and be more, quote, disciplined. I hate that word, but disciplined in your work life. But let's, if you struggle against it, you're going to spend a lot of time in your business feeling frustrated. And I want you to avoid that experience. You're not effective when you're frustrated.
Right. So this individual style, and a lot of our listeners are going to be that chief enthusiast officer. That could be a hindrance as well as quite helpful. Is that right?
To be a chief enthusiasm officer, everybody loves you. They want to party with you. You're always the one, like me, staying up until 2 a.m. because you're working on some creative idea or at some party, and you're always the last one to leave. Okay, I'm overgeneralizing, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
But
it can be a double-edged sword, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Absolutely, because you're a connector and you're always enthusiastically approaching your work at the same time that you're scattered and you feel like you get to the end of the day and you haven't accomplished anything.
So I'm going to flip a couple of questions around here because I think it makes more sense in the order. I was going to ask the two next questions were a top tip, and then where can people go to find out more about the 4 CEO styles? Let's go to the first one first. Where can people go? And you've got a quiz. Where can people go to take that quiz and figure out which of the 4 styles they are?
So they would go to my website, which is lizwolfcoaching.com/quiz. It's easy to remember. Wolf with an E. Remember, I grew up on a sheep farm, so wolf and sheep go together. So lizwolfcoaching.com/quiz. And if you do that quiz, it's short, it's fun, and it will tell you what you are: enthusiast, expert, excellence, or empowerment, which one of those styles you have. And then you will be able to utilize the tools that come.
Right, because once you're aware of what your tendency is, I think that's the word you've used, your tendency is, that awareness really gives you the power to actually harness the potential of that, but also to guard against the potential pitfalls of that. So given that resources there, Liz Wolfe with an E coaching.com/quiz, what would you say would be a top tip? So it's not going to solve the whole problem, but once people are empowered with that knowledge, what would you say would be one thing they could do, a top tip that would help them move in the right direction?
Yeah. Well, resistance is a very powerful experience. And so we talk about the law of attraction, but we don't talk a lot about the law of resistance. So as you notice your resistance to something that may be different, like, oh, I have to sit down today and do my billing, when you notice those resistance, because you want to be out creating new, exciting things, then what you want to do is notice your resistance and know that that's coming from your resistance to being a way that you are not naturally a way to be. So I want you to ask yourself the question, what am I resisting right now? And I promise you will discover something helpful for you to move forward in your day.
Pull the lid back. But that awareness does give people power because then they understand what's going on. Thank you for that. Top tip. 24 seconds left. What's the one question I should have asked you but didn't?
That's a great question. The question you should have asked me that you didn't ask me was, how do I get past this? And is this really possible for me? And I think the answer is, we're on this entrepreneurial journey together to be in discovery. So be in that open space of discovery.
Embrace that discovery. Liz Wolfe, thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Yes, thank you so much, Tom.
Thanks for checking out our Marketing the Invisible podcast. If you like what we're doing here, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. It's very much appreciated. And if you want to generate 5 fresh leads in just 5 hours, then check out www.5hourchallenge.com.